All right, Kenny. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I have the privilege and honor of introducing not only our fellow alum, but also our newly re-elected president of the Alumni Association. He is also the 2015 Summit co-chair and one of the most passionate alumnus I have had the pleasure to work with. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming my Lincoln brother, Mr. Robert Ingram.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to those of you who haven't been here in a minute to Lincoln University. On behalf of the Alumni Association of Lincoln University, I'd like to welcome certainly our esteemed faculty, friends, family, guests, students, and the alumni of Lincoln University. Our AALU Life Member Banquet and Awards Ceremony program is in its second year, and we are indeed honored to honor the many individuals here tonight, but in particular to pay our gratitude to our life members. You know, these are tough times for colleges and universities everywhere, not just HBCUs, but colleges and universities. And I just don't know of a more spirited group of individuals than the alumni of Lincoln University. And I just want everyone to pay homage to them and give them a hand. We're going to have a working dinner, so to speak, everyone. And I hope you can indulge us. We don't want the program to be too long, so we're going to keep the program moving while you're eating. I have the pleasure of bringing up our Vice President for Advancement, Development. He's over top of many of the business areas here, including the alumni. He really has only been here a year, but it seems like he's been here for quite longer than that. He's inspired a great deal of confidence among the alumni. He is a person who is extremely service-oriented, and he really treats us like we're customers that are valued, and we appreciate him greatly. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Peter Caputo. Peter.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Congratulations to you on your re-election, to you and your team, on your re-election to the leadership of Lincoln University's Alumni Association. And when Mr. Ingram said I treat you like customers, actually I don't think of you in that regard. I think of you more like Lincoln University's family. And I hope that as we move forward, that we continue to act like family, and even if we disagree from time to time, we do that under the same roof and we walk away still as family. I'm pleased to be your Vice President for Advancement. I'm the interim Vice President, so I'm here until a permanent Vice President is put in place. I've been here a year, and as you know, we have an interim President coming shortly. Dr. Richard Green is to start on July 1st. It's not official yet, but it has been announced in several places. It was announced at the board meeting, in a public board meeting, so it's not a secret, but since all the I's haven't been dotted and T's crossed, we haven't been able to publicize that yet, and for that, I apologize that we haven't done it, but we just aren't able to. And the other announcement is that, as most of you probably already know, Ms. Rita Dibble has resigned her position as Director of Alumni Relations. I'm here tonight principally, however, to not welcome you, but re-welcome you, or welcome you back to Lincoln University on behalf of our acting president, Dr. Valerie Harrison. I congratulate all of the alumni recipients tonight and Ms. Lillie. And the reason Ms. Harrison isn't here tonight is because she's honoring another great Lincoln alumnus, Roderick Ireland, who is being given an honorary degree at Roger Williams Law School in Rhode Island, and Valerie was asked to represent Lincoln University at that ceremony. So that's why she's not here tonight, and that I bring you greetings. So welcome.
Pleasure of introducing the esteemed individual that's going to introduce our keynote speaker tonight. She actually is, last year she was our Trustee of the Year, our Alumni Trustee of the Year. And, we consider that to be a highly, I would say a valued position, considering that there are at least, I mean, maybe almost double-digit alumni on the Board of Trustees. There are at least 10, aren't there? Yeah, so there are at least 10. So, you know, a person really needs to distinguish themselves for that kind of distinction from us. You know, she's just been a guiding light to our organization. She's held positions on so many different levels, and she has ably, I believe, served the university well in her position as an elected alumni trustee. So ladies and gentlemen, bring on our keynote speaker tonight, our reigning Alumni Trustee of the Year, Ms. Sharman Lawrence Wilson.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Our guest speaker tonight has been recognized as a history maker, a human rights activist, a civil rights advocate, man of excellence, 2010 Chicago Defender, and an ordained Methodist minister. In the beginning, he was one of 2 black students in his high school at Friends Select in Philadelphia, graduating with honors in 1959, subsequently attending Lincoln University, graduating cum laude in American history, Boston University, earning a master's in American history, as well as a Bachelor of Sacred Theology, respectively. In 1967, the Reverend Jesse Jackson asked him to join the staff of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, now the Rainbow Push Coalition. His tenure was from 1967 to 1971. And from 1971 to 1973, he worked closely with Coretta Scott King as the executive director of the Martin Luther King Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Always and consistently supportive of the Alumni Association, he is a life member as well as a distinguished award recipient. Devoted to his alma mater, he served on the Board of Trustees from 2001 to 2009, first as secretary and following as board chair. He has touched me personally. When I was president of the Alumni Association some years ago, during our founders banquet, the council presented a check to then President Ivory Nelson and conducted a silent auction as well. We wanted to increase our donation at that time. So we had a few art items that were donated to us from October Gallery in Philadelphia. And we put them out in the hallway, and we returned during the banquet. We found out that they had all been purchased by the same person, our speaker. If you have never heard this lion roar, you are in for a treat. Lincoln family and friends, it is my pleasure and my privilege to introduce you to Reverend Dr. Cauthen Sylvester Morris, class of 1963.
I also stutter when I say my middle name, and that's why I never use it. When I was a young man and young boy, Harry S. Truman was the President of the United States. And I found out that his middle initial didn't stand for anything but S. Since I didn't like the middle initial Sylvester, I dubbed myself Calvin S. Morris. Sister Charman, you had reason to stutter. I stuttered myself. I also want to share some observations relative to the gathering downstairs a few moments ago. There was a spirit of joy downstairs that was quite palpable. People greeting one another, hugs, secret handshakes, all kinds of things were going on downstairs. But a lot of joy. There was a sense of rapport. There was a sense of family. There was a sense of unity. And I haven't been on campus for a few years now, 3 or 4, I guess. And I had forgotten that kind of Lincoln spirit. And I was touched by what I was feeling and receiving from each of you. I entered Lincoln University 56 years ago as a freshman or a greenhorn or a dog, as we were referred to. No, wasn't that. The dog was when you were a neophyte, a freshman at Lincoln. Everybody was a dog. Everybody wore these green beanies. And everybody who came here with any kind of hair on their face had to shave it off. And I went to a school, Quaker school, as was indicated, Friend Select, and there was, nobody could wear any kind of facial hair. But having come from North Philadelphia, where I grew up, was nourished and fed and all those kinds of things, I had a mustache. And I persuaded the headmaster of the school that I should be able to wear my mustache, because it was a part of who I was. And they let me do that at Friend Select. So when I came to Lincoln, I was determined that I was going to wear my mustache. And was bold enough and foolish enough to tell the upperclassmen that I was not going to shave my mustache. Well, a delegation visited me in my room in Crescent Hall, 3rd floor, and subtly and unequivocally indicated that I was going to shave that mustache, or I was going to have a lip to put it on. My forthrightness, my zeal, the fact that I always would stand for what I thought was right, went out the window. I learned many things at Lincoln University. But I will tell you that coming from Friend Select School, the thing that I learned most, which I yearned for, was to be in a fellowship of people, most of whom, like myself, were first in their families to go to college. They, like myself, were hungry for knowledge. We were hungry to succeed. We were hungry to make our families proud. We were on fire to stand forth, to call into question all of those stereotypes and all of those different things which we were told we represented. My mentor, the man who christened me, Reverend Dennis Fletcher, was a 1934 graduate of Lincoln University. He brought me to this school. And while some people in my family did not understand why from Friend Select I would go to Lincoln, I knew why. The experience in the Quaker school was wonderful. It enabled me to understand that in the midst of that kind of situation, I could stand on my own and not be afraid. That I could compete with anybody at that school intellectually. But what I didn't experience there was a group like myself. There were so few of us there at that time. And I knew that I could not spend my life in a Friend Select situation. And that I needed to be in a place where I could meet young people like myself. And that we could struggle and work and strive together to make a difference in the world that was awaiting us. I am so happy I came to Lincoln University. I left here, went on to Boston, 3 graduate degrees, etc. and so forth. But it was my privilege and honor to be with some extraordinary hardheads. I was with people here who graduated summa cum laude. I was there for the magna cum laudes and the cum laudes. I happen to be in that third category. But I was also friends and deeply related to thank you, Lordy people as well. It took all of us together to be here. I spent this afternoon with my major professor, Richard Winchester, and his wife, Connie. I met them when I was 18 years old. No, probably 19, because they came a year or two after I arrived here. I liked him because he was not condescending. Sometimes you have white liberals who are condescending. They're nice and they mean well, but they're kind of condescending, and because you're a little black boy, they give you a little break because they don't really expect you to be able to do well. Winchester was not like that. Winchester would drive you to your knees. He didn't care. You couldn't give him a sob story. You couldn't do any of that kind of stuff. He was not hearing it. And I appreciated that so much from him. I really, really did. That he would respect me. I loved Lincoln because Miss Frankowski and Goldie Johnson and all these other people would call you Mr. Mars. Nobody had called me Mr. before. And they expected you to act like an adult. So you and I, many of you, have your own stories. and I won't belabor you with mine. But this school has nourished us and nurtured us. We had professors who saw things in us we did not at the time see in ourselves. And they dared us to succeed. These days are different than those days in many respects, and sometimes many positive respects. But the original sin of America, slavery and racism and its after effects and present effects are still with us. We have a political arena right now where many leaders
Bringing a word on behalf of our chair of the Board of Trustees, Kimberly Lloyd, as well as our trustees, Mr. Guy Sims. Guy?
Everybody looks good. I have to agree with Cauthen. Downstairs, there's always and I'll use this word, a joy. Just when people walk in the door and you just haven't seen them for a while, that's just a great feeling. Just a real quick quote. Destiny is secured when one gets a purpose. And I think this event tonight is the culminating event that leads to the commencement for us to secure that purpose that we believe that we need, and to also focus in on that destiny that we know that we need to have. Just real quick, when I was driving up here, I remember even before I was a freshman, we came up for this thing called the testing day. So we had to drive up, and my father made me go to Lincoln because I was having some challenges in high school, I'll just put it that way. And he said, well, you're going to go to Lincoln because I know the director of financial aid. And so I didn't know where I was going. But for whatever crazy reason, I knew there was something I wanted to do in my life. And here we are driving up from Philadelphia, all the way Route 1, and it clearly wasn't built up as it is now. But it was just straight up empty. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It was empty, and when the wind blew through the car, it was kind of smelly. But you know what? I knew in my mind, I knew my dad was putting me on the right path because he wouldn't steer me wrong. And whatever was ahead of me, I knew it was going to be something good. And I had to get through the not quite sure what's there and the smelly stuff, the messy stuff. And I know that's what we're going to do as a group. And Cauthen said it. There have been plenty of hard times before, and there's going to be plenty of hard times ahead. But I think if we continue on our path and we keep our senses focused, whatever we want to achieve, that's what we're going to achieve. So on behalf of Chair Lady Kimberly Lloyd and the rest of the Board of Trustees, well, I celebrate and we all celebrate us being in this moment and getting in that car and going to that place that we know that we need to go to as a body. So enjoy you're already here, so enjoy the other people coming up to give out awards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sims. I also want to acknowledge some other, I consider them, everybody's a VIP, but certainly we want to acknowledge our leaders in the Student Government Association. Would you all please rise and be acknowledged? And certainly, last but not least, we have some members of our fine staff, university staff here, Dr. Pope from Athletics, Keynote Thurman in Advancement, Connie Davis in Alumni Relations. Guys, stand, please. We appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Could all Life members please stand? I I will now call you up one by one for the pinning ceremony. Clarence Mills, class of 1962. Kathy Reardon, class of 1978. Joe Williams, class of 1968. Thomas McGill, class of 1968. Francine Medley, class of 1985. Kwame Ulmer, class of 1996. William Barber, class of 1974. Dr. Alfred Dorsey, class of 1979. Alice Hollingshed, class of 1984. Michael Gunn, class of 1983. Dr. Harold White, class of 1956. Van Brown, class of 1979. Greg Miller, class of 1977. Gloria Hartwell, class of 1979. Geraldine Johnson, class of 1979. Rudley Young, class of 1979. Maureen Kelson, class of 1953. Calvin Morris, class of 1963. And last but not least, Tehma Smith, class of 2000. I'm sorry, we have one of our newest life members, April Green, class of 2011. Did I miss any life members that didn't get pinned from last year? I'm good. Please repeat your name after I. Please lift your right hand. Say your name after I. I pledge to rededicate myself to the life of the mission of the Alumni Association of Lincoln University. The purpose of this association is to cultivate and foster a close fellowship among graduates, alumni chapters, and former students of Lincoln University. To encourage financial support for Lincoln University. To assist in the recruitment of students to Lincoln University. To work with Lincoln University personnel. To develop and implement programs that will benefit Lincoln and the Alumni Association of Lincoln University. I will honor and respect every alumnus of Dear Lincoln, the leadership of this association, and maintain a positive spirit in all endeavors that pertain to Lincoln University, its heritage, and its traditions. So help me God. Congratulations. Could our current life members please pin our new life members? Current life members. The ones that got pinned last year.
are just delighted, Charisse, that you can take time out of your busy schedule. Lincoln's standards are high, and your standards are the highest. So for that, we recognize you as our Corporate Executive of the Year.
Thank you so much. This is such an honor for me to be here with you all tonight. I'm so grateful, and as you all can tell, because I'm married to an esteemed alum, Lincoln has played a big part in my life. It's great to be a part of this group because Lincoln has so many famous alums. People like my favorite hero, Thurgood Marshall, my dear friend, Judge Jacqueline Allen in Philadelphia, one of my favorite poets, Langston Hughes. The list goes on and on. I also appreciate your recognition of the work that I do at Comcast for the community. And if I can just take personal privilege, I just want to tell you all about one of the programs. Comcast is totally dedicated to trying to erase the digital divide that affects disproportionately the African American community. And one of the programs that we administer through my department is Comcast Internet Essentials, which is the largest low-cost broadband program. And if your kids are eligible for the free or reduced school lunch program, your family can get Comcast cable from the time the kids are in 1st grade to 12th grade for $9.95 a month. It is our effort to make sure that our children have those computers in the home so that they can get ahead and stay ahead, because our children are starting out behind and they are not catching up. And as Rob noted, one of the things that we are very focused on at Comcast, and I'm a part of the diversity team, is diversity and inclusion, and Comcast is constantly being recognized for its role. This award means a lot to me. I'm a board member at Howard University. I understand the importance of what Lincoln University is doing to educate the next generation of African American leaders, of international leaders. We have our students from Africa who I'm delighted to see. And finally, my parents are both graduates of historically black universities. My mother was a graduate of Dillard University. My late father is a graduate of Texas Southern University by way of Kentucky State. So I would not be here in the position that I am in without the education that they got, because education was very much valued in my family, and it is very much valued in our family. And so finally, I have to pay tribute to my husband, Tom McGill. His great affection for Lincoln has been a constant in my life. It has been a constant in my life. And I have great affection for this great university. So I thank you very much for this recognition, and I hope that everyone is going to leave here tonight and write a big check for Lincoln.
Our Alumni Achievement Award we're presenting to the Cauthens, Karen, class of 74, and Mack Cauthen, class of 75.
Good evening. We had this plan that my wife would speak first, but she's being pinned. First, I just want to thank God for everything that He has done for me and my life and my wife's life, for bringing us together. One of my classmates, Gayla Shepard, 5 years ago, had shirts made, 10 years ago, had shirts made up for us, and it was about saying Sankofa, go back and fetch. And we spoke about our experience at Lincoln, and on the t-shirts it says, we came strong in numbers, we gained a wealth of knowledge and history, we endured the Lincoln experience. We departed Lincoln and became successful. We returned and always will for our love of Lincoln, for we are that very proud company of lions. And this epitomized what we're all about, and that is to go back and fetch, to go back and get others and bring them to Lincoln, because Lincoln has been so good to us. Lincoln will always have a place in my heart, because it was 42 years ago that I met the lady of my life that changed my course of destiny. So I thank God for my wife, Karen, my daughters, Aaron and Lauren, my future son-in-law, who's also a Lincoln man, my fraternity brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, my fellow alums for this cherished honor. And I want to give a special shout out to my pastor who surprised me this evening, who drove all the way down from Englewood, New Jersey. He's been our pastor for 3 years. And prior to him coming, Pastor Jovan Troy Davis, the class of 2002, I was known as Mr. Lincoln at Ebenezer Baptist Church until he came and I had to explain to everyone that he is the real Mr. Lincoln. I was the pseudo Mr. Lincoln. So I want to thank him for coming down. I want to thank the Snyders for coming down to support us. I just want to thank everyone for what they have done and the love that they've shown us. The blue and white family, because my wife will not let me sleep well if I don't acknowledge the blue and white family. But again, to God be the glory, and I want to thank the National Alumni Association for just thinking of us and those involved for this most honored award. Thank you.
I don't speak often, but the one thing I want to say, I do love Lincoln. And coming here, it was such a blessing. And it's just, I come from a family, I was the 4th generation to come to college. My grandparents went to Hampton, and my father went to City University. I came here, and we have a 5th generation, both my daughters. So this legacy goes beyond Lincoln. It really goes out into the world. And thank you.
As a former and current politician, just one other thing. In your books, it mentioned the tempestuous class of 1995 that I'm in. Now, I always kid my wife because she's the class of 74 and I'm the class of 75, but she came here early at 16. But I didn't think that she would go all the way back 20 years, to find a husband. But again, thank you. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the Great Villain for the Horace Award.
To God, as we all must do. I also like to thank my wife for picking me up at the airport and bringing me here, and also bringing me a suit. I did travel from India and touched on 3 continents on my way here. And I would like to say that I truly appreciate the Alumni Association. I cherish this award. The things that we do in in support of Lincoln University really go beyond just money. One of the things that Dr. Morris used to talk about all the time was our time, our talent, and our treasure. And it's the time that we put in identifying students that's important. But the treasure really is important too. Most of you might remember me or know that I'm the chair of the Lincoln Society for the this past year and this coming year. I've agreed to chair it again. And the society is for people who donate at least $1,000 to Lincoln University in a given fiscal year. So I encourage you all to fill those blue bags up, and let's make the Lincoln Society representative of everybody. Thank you very much.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's recognize Ms. Tehma Hallie.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm Tehma Smith, and I would like to start off by thanking the Lincoln University Alumni Association for this honor, the John Miller Dickey Award. I would like to start by saying that when I started attending Lincoln in May of 1996, I had no idea of the type of impact that Lincoln would have on my life as a student, academically, athletically, and as a part of the student body. Now, as a 15-year alum of Lincoln University, I can truly say that I've been blessed by the relationships and the opportunities that Lincoln has provided me that I would not have received if I would have attended another undergraduate university. So I would like to close by saying I would like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ definitely for guiding me to Lincoln and guiding me through Lincoln. I would also like to thank my parents, my family, and my friends who are here with me today, and the ones that were not able to make the trip up. And I would like to thank the Lincoln University community as a whole for building me and molding me into a person that can be considered a leader. And once again, thank you, Lincoln University Alumni Association, for this award.
He is just a stalwart supporter of Lincoln University. For that reason, we are bestowing the Lincoln Legacy Award in 2015 on Dr. Thomas O. Mills, class of 57.
Chair for this award. Rumor had it that I'm partly receiving this award for my prowess on the baseball field in 1950. But that is totally 1950s rap.
Ladies and gentlemen, our AALU Chapter President of the Year, Carol Black, class of 67.
Thank you so much, Robert. Robert's become my brother. A brother I love sometimes, and a brother I'd like to see go away sometimes. Because every time I see him, he gives me a pile of work to do for the association. But it's a labor of love. As all of you know, well, first let me just thank the Alumni Association for this award. I don't like standing up, I don't like getting awards. I like giving people awards. I just love you all very, very much. You are part of my life and part of my family. And speaking of family, they are kind enough to share me with Lincoln University. And they are here tonight. I just want to acknowledge them. My husband, Joe. Both of my daughters are here. One is in the back taking a movie, Ty. And she's the one that had the two children who were clapping and making all kinds of noises, Calvin, during your speech, and I do apologize. And my daughter, Keita, where is Keita? There she is. She's also behind the camera, who, as of last week, is a third-generation alumna of Lincoln University. No, she's cum laude. And she's going on and on and on. And my two grandchildren who are here, Fana and Zaria. My son-in-law is here, Carl. And my granddaughter, the apple of my eye, Kayla Williams, is here, who's 15. I have three classmates here tonight. Ron Moffitt, who we all knew as Mouse during the old days. And Richard Williams, who we all knew as Chubb. And my sorority sister, Gloria Dillon Wilson. Thank you so much for being here. Good to know you. Levi, yes, my wonderful classmate and certainly faculty member, mentor. You talk about somebody encouraging you, Robert, he encourages me. Thank you, Levi, for being here. You know, Lincoln University changed my life, even from the very beginning. You know, I was actually a product of a teenage father and mother who put me up for adoption. And around 6 months old, I was adopted by a Lincoln man and his wife. And that Lincoln man would bring me to Lincoln University every year for class reunions. We mentioned the class of 24. And you know who was in the class of 24? The class of 24 called themselves the Lincoln's greatest class. And I just thought that was awfully, ambitious. But when they wrote checks, I gave it to them. Because the checks were always they totaled in the 6 figures. And I'm talking back in the 60s. And they did it every year. They were just amazing. One of his classmates was the Boomer. Another classmate was Hildress Poindexter. I knew Tick Coleman. I sat on the lap of Thurgood Marshall when I was a child. I met Langston Hughes. And when I was a student at Lincoln, I sat next to just incredible people. Melvin Tolson. Melvin B. Tolson was wonderful. I had an incredible life. And when it was time to come to college, I already had orange and blue in my blood, and there was no place else to go but Lincoln University. Unfortunately, it had become co-ed at that time, although there was no place for us to stay, and there were no lights on the campus and all kinds of things. But I finally lived in the first place residence for women, which was the Alumni House. And I was up in the attic with 6 other women, and we had a ball. I was nurtured here by the great Dr. Farrell, who freshman day, the first day in freshman orientation, he looked at my roster and you know how hot, like 100 degrees in the old Rim Gym? Some of you may remember that. And you had to go to every professor and get your class approved. And somehow I ended up in front of Dr. Farrell, and he looked at me and he said, what do you intend to do? I said, I really don't know. He said, well, what do you like? I said, well, I love to read, I love to write. He says, you're going to be an English major. And he put me in touch with Donald Bogle, and the rest is history. I worked on the newspaper and the yearbook and all those kind of good things. And when I graduated, great references came, and those enabled me to go on, eventually to a career in law and in education. I barely never left Lincoln University. I'm still here. As I approach my 70th year, I'll be 70 in June next month, I intend to stay here. I intend to keep working because there were so many before me who prepared the place for me. And I'm going to be here to prepare a place for our young people. I've been privileged to work with 7 presidents at this university. I was able to pick up the phone and talk to them at any time. I didn't abuse that, but I enjoyed that distinction. I've recruited students. Many of my students are here. And right now, I'm just very happy that I can lead a chapter. They allow me, even my age, to do that. And I'm able to represent the university in a number of things in the community. Very dear to my heart is the quest that we are now engaged in, and that is to place our historic buildings on the National Register of Historic Places. And I'm very pleased to say that that is moving along, and hopefully there'll be a great announcement one day and you'll all come back and be able to see and hear that great occasion. But again, I thank you all for this, and you really are encouraging me to keep going. Thank you.
So I've had an incredible committee that I just want to recognize them before we go any further. All of them have been chiding me to rush the program, but this is our Oscars. And every one of you have worked on behalf of this Lincoln University. If we had to stay here till 2 in the morning, if you'll be here with me, I want everybody to get their recognition, and I want you to take your time in sharing it and saying thank you to whomever. So without further ado, I just want to recognize some of our committee. Satu Stevens in the back, Dr. Satu Stevens. Gloria Hartwell over here. Crystal Page. Takia Young. Stand up, Takia. Margo Young. Darryl Braxton. Did I leave anybody out? Okay, Nadi's not here, but lady, oh, Donna. Was Donna in here? Donna LeQuinn? Woo, I don't want to leave her out. Okay, but anyway, these people have worked very hard, and we tried to keep this thing on time, but at the end of the day, you know, there's so many people that are worth recognizing, and I'm going to tell you something. We want to hear what you have to say, because what you have to say is noteworthy, and there may be somebody, particularly a student in here, that you will share something that will change their life. So I'm not going to sit up here and play God, because all of you are a gift, you know, to Lincoln and the world. This next group is what we're calling our chapter of the year, and I think it's a very special award. In order to win this, you really have to demonstrate teamwork and coordination and effort. And I just don't think that in the Alumni Association of Lincoln University we have a stronger and a more spirited team than the team that we have in Philadelphia, led ably by their president, Robin Torrance, Yoshi, Francis Paul, several women, there's a couple brothers in there. I think Daryl brings the food and the drinks, you know, every week. But seriously, our Philadelphia chapter, always raising money, consistently meeting, constantly in my case. But we appreciate them greatly. They've done an incredible job, and we thank you, Robin, and the whole team for your example, and we want to recognize you as a chapter of the year. So, Philadelphia Alumni. I'm sorry, Alice, our volunteer, Alice Hall here. Woo, I don't want to leave Alice.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much. I'd like for all of the Philadelphia Alumni chapter members, Philadelphia chapter members, to please come and stand with me, because without you all of our efforts could not be done. Without someone else? Without my chapter members here, the work that we do continuously, we could not get any of the things that we do, our efforts done. These are hard workers. Whenever we do anything, they are always there. Whatever the charge is, whatever it is that we do. without them.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Alumni Faculty Person of the Year, Dr. Levi, Nwachuku.
The PhD from Morgan State, but MF from Lincoln. When he showed his resume, the interviewer said, "You went to Lincoln? That bad school. That bad school. Take it off from your resume." But in those days, Lincoln had what? Went to school. I mean, I'm in Lincoln. Is those who are supposed to lead us should know their act. This is not time. See, we cannot afford any mistake. It's lost for the black man. And I beg you, I don't talk much. But I thank you for the award. I give this award and dedicate it to my colleagues. We must say it. Dr. Kevin Farrell, psychology. Dean Children. Wait, again. Padaway. George Padaway, music. Dana Flint and Dina Stein. Muslim and Dina Stein. 7 people who stake themselves to point out at the evils, the retardation of Lincoln. And we are giving all sorts of names. But goodness, boldness, righteousness must be felt. I hope that this is a new beginning for Lincoln. A new beginning. Be proud that you are Lincoln alumni and alumni. Be proud of it. And work towards the maintenance and again, the intellectual immortality of Lincoln. Thank you.
To introduce him, the person is very special to us, Dr. Sims.
I just want to be the one to come on up here, Bill, Will, William, Billy, whatever your name is, get on up here.
Thank you. Alumni Association, thank you. Administration, thank you. Faculty and staff, but more importantly, thank you students. The reason for my being and the reason for doing what I do. Thank God that Mom and Dad were around to let me know that I had to go to college, because I don't think I could have stayed home with Mom and Dad and do what I did, and they weren't having it, so we all had to go to college, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Always being taught that manners and just please and thank you were the thing. Manners will take you where money won't. And it has brought me to this point, and I appreciate that. I thank you for giving me my my flower while I'm still around. I appreciate that. You know, there's a lot that happens, a lot goes on here on campus for all the years, you know, to being a student in the 70s, working in the 80s, working in the 90s, working 2000. And you get to the point where you say, okay, that's it. I think I'm going to end it right here. I'm going to let it go. And you keep going and keep going. And there's a number of reasons why I decided to leave Lincoln at the time I did. But I was really reminded of one particular issue when I was talking with a student. And the student was telling me, he says, you know, you have a legacy here, and you know we have a legacy. And I said, what is that? He said, you knew my brother and sister. And I said, okay, and he told me who his brother and sister was, and I said, that's great. And he said, you also knew my mom and dad. And I said, your mom and dad, he told me who his mom and dad was. I said, okay, I remember them. And then he said, you also know my grandmother and my grandfather. So I said, I don't think so. And then he told me who they were, and I was like, yeah, I do. He said, and now I said, that's I'm quitting, okay? Don't go there, don't go there. Because he was getting ready to use the G word, okay? And I wasn't going for the grace, all right? But I really appreciate it. It's a labor of love. I just did it because that's what I did, and I enjoyed it. And between my mom and dad, Brother and Mrs. Kinney right there, my fraternity brothers, my new chapter brothers, my new Sigma brothers, Phi Beta Sigma, my DB, my dean here, and all of the students here who have moms and dads and brothers and sisters and grandmothers and grandfathers that I knew. I really appreciate you just being you, because you were the ones that inspired me to do what I do, and I appreciate that. I had 3 stories to tell. I'm going to tell one story because I know C2 is out there telling me where my time was. But I'm going to tell these 2 quick stories, really. One about Dr. Farrell. God bless Dr. Farrell. Dr. Farrell, one time, we used to sit down and talk in the evenings. And I had gone home one weekend when I was working here in the 80s and talked to my mom. We would laugh, and she was reading something about the newspaper. And the newspaper article said that at that time, Mayor Koch decided to crack down on prostitution in New York City. And they were trying all these different ways. And what Koch did was he published the names of the people, higher-ups, who were involving themselves in this, and put it in a daily article. And he would get on the radio between 12:30 and 1 o'clock and read the names. And one day I was sitting down talking to Dr. Farrell. I said, Dr. Farrell, did you believe this? He looked at me, said, what are you talking about? So I explained the whole story to him. And Dr. Farrell said, really? I said, yeah. I said, but he did get his results, because the list went down, and eventually those people stopped doing what they did. And he said, that's terrible. That's a horrible way to get a means to an end. I could never do something like that. I said, Dr. Farrell, you know, difficult times call for difficult measures. And it wasn't 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks later that downstairs, if you remember, in the student union where the mailroom was, when you came in the door at the bottom, there was the mailroom door that you went in, and above it, next to it, was a sign that talked about the mailroom hours and everything. Dr. Farrell had convinced somebody to take that down. And what he did was he put in the names of all the people who owed him money and how much they owed. And he had the class closed and locked. And students came in there screaming and yelling, and then he told them to come see me. And as long as I signed off on the piece of paper, then they would be okay. And eventually they got their money back. So God bless Dr. Farrell. And the last story I want to tell, let's say 2. He is my son. He is definitely my son. Say 2 was all over the place when he was a student. He would always come and ask me questions about this and that, and he was determined, just as determined as he is now. He did not waver. And Say 2 was always trying to get additional money and help out. Every time he come back, oh, here we go again. Okay, what do you need, Say 2? All right, we'll get this done for you. So he was saying, well, what should I do? What should I say? Well, work, make as much money as you can. So it was the end of school, and Say 2 had stayed around, I guess maybe a couple of weeks after graduation. And Say 2 came running in the office and said, Mr. Barber, look at this. Look what I got. Look what I got. I said, what is that? He said, it's an advertisement for a job. I said, okay, well, what kind of job is it? I can work on a cruise ship. I'm going like, work on a cruise ship. Okay, what does it talk? Well, it's some kind of, it doesn't tell all the things, but you can work on a cruise ship. What do you think about this? I'm going like, well, what are you going to do on a cruise ship? Are you going to bus tables? Are you going to sing? Are you going to be a male escort? What are you going to do on the cruise? And he's going, I don't know what I'm going to do. Did you ever work on the cruise? Oh, you did? Oh, thank God. Okay. All right. Well, he wanted to do that so bad, but he was a very ambitious young man, and I'm so proud of him that he continued, and he's here to help. And the last thing I want to say is, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I've learned working in this job, and I really mean this, is take time for time. Make time for time. When you have an opportunity, when you get a chance, when you meet, shake a hand, say hello, when you open the door, when you say thank you, when you pick something up for someone, or whatever to give, pass a kind word, remember to do that. And the one thing that taught me how you take time for time is I had 3 good friends who lived a good life within the last 5 years. And some of you may know when you get that phone call at like 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and the person just wants to talk, you know that there's a reason for that. And that was the last conversations that I had with them before they all passed away. So make time for time. Make time for time, and you'll be surprised how long that goes and how long it will last. I thank you for this award, and thank you very much for doing this. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the President's Award for Leadership goes to Trustee Donald Otis, class of 79.
Good evening. I promise you I'll be brief. First, I want to thank God for giving me the strength to do the work that I do. Lincoln University, when I first came here in 1975, a neighbor of mine told me about Lincoln. She lived right across the street. So when I came up as a freshman, she was coming back as a sophomore, and she never made it back. She opted not to go. I was up at Lincoln and didn't know anybody, but I can say some of my best friends are from Lincoln University. I want to give another shout out to the class of 79. The organization that I work for does a lot of community service. It's about service, as was mentioned earlier, but it's also about giving back. And one of the things that I've created and the things that I'm most proud of all of my accomplishments, and the other day I just got elected to go with a delegation from Harlem to tell them how we redevelop Harlem, where we're going to Cuba for 9 days. And all of the things that I've done and accomplished, the most cherished one for me is creating an internship that I did with Lincoln University and West Harlem Group Assistance. And we've had about 33 students that came through the program since 2008. And it gives the students a chance to, one, earn some money, so it's a paid internship, and the students love that. But it gives them an opportunity to, get their analytical skills that they need to, in order to go into business and once they graduate. Another great honor that happened to me over the last 2 years is to see these students graduate and being a member of the Board of Trustees, being on the stage and being able to congratulate them. And it's an honor to just work with these students and to give back, because it's all about the students. And we all have different visions and we all have different ways that we see the university, but we need to get down to the business of this university and all come together and do the work of the university, because it's all about the students to me. I look forward to working with the trustees-elect, Francis and Robert, and they're friends of mine, so I look forward in September where we can start this collaboration. And I look forward to working with the Alumni Association and associations more, so that we can continue the work of the university. Thank you.
But without further ado, I think we owe a great deal of gratitude to Trustee Vernon Davis, H. Alfred. President Ingram, our Treasurer Darrell Braxton, and Kenny Poole, and also the Alumni Association of Lincoln University, our national association. I want to thank you all. I mean, this is humbling, and it's, quite frankly, surprising. But I really appreciate the recognition. We don't do this, for these awards. It's great to smell the roses, but we're doing this for the children, for the students of Lincoln University, and to try to make this place a better place than it was when we attended, and to really make Lincoln University our home. And what I've tried to do is to be, again, consistent with not only helping to develop a chapter, but to also develop a sense of pride and also commitment for others in the organization. I've walked away from a few different jobs that I had done for a long time. And I said, if I'm not doing my job in terms of developing others to perform those jobs, then I'm not worth the salt that I say that or think that I'm worth. But it's great to see our chapter doing well, and it's also great to see the National Association progressing the way it has. There were a lot of times when I sat in a room with a couple other people, like Bob said, and said, where are the people at? And I had some alum who would come to me and say, you have to be consistent and you have to keep having those meetings and the people will come. Put programs together and the people will embrace them. And that's what we try to do, and I think that's the key to success in developing any chapter and organization. And I think that we need to be proud as alums that Bob Ingram and his team have done the things that they've done to advance our organization. And I keep saying, hold on to our organization. I mean, this is our independent organization. We are the independent voice for Lincoln University. And we should never give that up, and we should never forget that. I want to thank you all. Thank you again. I want to bring Joe Johnson up here from the Coastal Carolina. We want to recognize one of our own. Come on, Joe.
Coastal Virginia chapter is especially happy to be here. This is our first since, in fact, we're probably the newest chapter. And I thank you for recognizing us. But I'm here to just recognize the one person that helped us get this all started, because they made a lot of sacrifices and they made a lot of commitments to seeing that the Coastal Virginia chapter got off the ground. But more importantly, today is their birthday. And we want to recognize Margot
Young. Raise your hands, Margot. Happy birthday, Margot.
Happy birthday, Margot.
Let's sing happy birthday, Margot. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Margot. Happy birthday to you.
All during class, I ran around and got signatures on this card that we were going to surprise you with. And somebody almost just told you and said, are you? Yeah, they signed the card, you know who you were.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes